Welcome back, everyone. Recently, there's been a number of little things on my mind, little things that I just wanted to address, and it's been a while since I did one of these general update videos, so here we are. So given that most of you are most interested in uranium, I figured my options were either start with it or, given what I'm going to say, maybe hide it at the end. But here we are. $150 million for US uranium purchases. That's not 10 million, it's not 5 million, it might be 2 to 3 million pounds, and yet all the stocks are surging. What we have to know before we know if this is valid or how valid it is beyond 2020. Is it going to be 200 million next year, 150 million, or 0 million? Because the fact is, it makes a huge difference. Because if it's just for 2020, then it's uh, could be relevant to very few, versus if it's an ongoing or growing plan, then it could be very relevant. So that is the biggest thing in uranium that I'm watching for, and in terms of the general uranium thesis. I'm a uranium bull. Uranium, I think it has a strong bullish thesis. That being said, I'm not convinced for the general equities in uranium that we are much different from where we were a few days ago. And I know there's a lot of wildly shifting views, but that's just the way I'm seeing things. Now, I'm not suddenly bearish. I've been bullish the whole time, but um, that's just where I see things now. So I wanted to address Tesla. Now, I've been making a bunch of jokes on Twitter and having fun with this. But the fact is, in all seriousness, this is going to end very badly. And I'm not saying that because it's Tesla. I'm saying it because it's going parabolic. Look at a history of things that have gone parabolic like this and be careful. The fact is that the market cap of the company is now $160 billion. And even if even if you're a bull and you think they actually are profitable, trees don't grow to the sun. So what I'm saying here is be very, very careful. There's nothing wrong with speculating, but be careful. I don't think that there is too much time left in the parabolic move. I make no guesses on what the price will end at, but it wouldn't surprise me if there was uh, less than a few weeks left. And I may say something on Twitter if I think it's over, if I have a strong view, but I might not because it's really impossible to time these things. Gold. Now, I haven't really spoken gold in a while. I know I mentioned a while ago that I bought a new gold stock, one that seems to be resistant to any price moves in any direction. And you know what? That's fine. I don't really care about that. But with gold, I've been annoyed on it for a while. It stayed speculatively overbought if you watch the commitment of trader reports for a long time, and now it's quite extreme. That being said, it has tried it. I thought it was trying to move higher before what I'll call Apocalypse 1.0, which I don't even remember what that was anymore, but this 2020 has been an endless series of the world ending type of events. And every time the price of gold has gone up, unsurprisingly, and yet the gold stocks have known that this is a false move because it's not actually the end of the world. And if it is, don't buy gold miners. Just saying. But the point is that I thought it was going to move before all this. Then all this, and then basically the signals got so messed up between gold and the gold stocks that I'm not sure that they know who's following who anymore, and so the whole thing is a mess. And I think that that's what today's violent move was about. And I'm just not super violent, but like a big 2% sell off in gold, and the gold miners were sold off too. It was just trying to flush out the whole mix up. And I think that there's a decent chance that gold will move higher eventually. I don't know if the downward move is done yet, but I think it will move higher eventually. And I think the miners need to lead the next move for it to be real. I was slightly encouraged by today, the fact that gold moved down 2% and the miners didn't move down more than they did, or gold moved down 1.8. What it was $20. I don't remember what the percent, but I would have thought that a move like that the miners would have moved more. So it's I was actually surprisingly positive on today, given the some of the red in some of the names. But that's what I'm watching. So, in line with what I was just saying about perpetual apocalypses or something, the coronavirus. And I was going to make a video about it, but I was like, I had just made a video about like conflict in Iran and this coronavirus, and too much, too much. But the fact is that the coronavirus is a different type of thing, because this is something that shuts down trade, shuts down economies. And part of what was worrying me about the coronavirus is the lack of um, credible data, or undelayed data, or not manipulated data. So there's that, and then there's been a lot of rumors and opinions about it. But the fact is that it has really slowed parts of China to a halt. It has shut down big cities, even temporarily. That is a big impact. Now, I do think that eventually stimulus will come if it's a big problem, but it was at the heart of the global consumption of commodities. And oil and copper were crushed big time. Copper was down 13 days in a row, oil maybe two. It was down a lot. And basically, I'm a bit more concerned about my copper bullish thesis with the coronavirus, because um, the demand was hit, the price was hit, and my near-term bullishness was kind of on a reflation thesis, and I wasn't sure about the midterm. And so the short term was weak, midterm was uh, questionable, and the long term was bullish. But so I became a bit more concerned, quite a bit more concerned with the bullish commodities uh, near-term thesis. Okay, so just to quickly clarify, I am not a fan of coal power. I think it should go away. That being said, countries like Japan and Germany seem to be a fan of coal power because they're building coal power plants. My point is that while I think it should go away, I don't think it is going away. And with that in mind, I wrote a piece, a blog links in the description, by the way, yesterday about why I think there's a potential for one coal stock, which is pretty cheap, that its earnings might be misunderstood, and that at this price it's just really cheap, and the buyback potential make this pretty unsustainable. Anyway, if you want to see that blog post in the description, it's about ARC coal. Now, I have felt that in coal particularly, I mean, not particularly, but with given everything, things could get worse. The ESG, the coronavirus, oil, nat gas, and everything, given everything, it really didn't feel like yeah, now's the time to buy, but there was a whole bunch of um, acceleration to the downside, then failing to really break to new lows. And anyway, the short-term movement of it, plus the earnings little thing that I discussed, where I think that their earnings are highly underestimated. So anyway, that's I bought, but I'm really this is met coal, by the way, mostly met coal with arc coal. Anyway, sorry, this is a bit of a mess, but yeah, things could get worse. I don't know. I tried to catch a falling knife, and I will probably end up with hand injury. So things weren't going that great for oil majors. And then Chevron missed on earnings and wrote down something. And then all of a sudden it was everyone hates oil again. And people didn't love oil before, but many of the stocks were at least hanging in there a little bit. Like if you looked at the majors, the miners were not miners, but non-majors were weaker. But on this recent news, it kind of was getting bitter again. And it hasn't been bitter against energy in a while. There's been a lot of, oh, we're moving away, and maybe we are eventually. I don't think energy is going anywhere anytime soon. But if you look at what is going on, there's just a lot of hatred, a lot of just sell it, just get out type mentality. And when we look back in the summer, and what I was saying then was that the stocks are cheap, but um, every mini boom, every time the price goes up, everyone just fights it so quickly. Everyone just ramps up production so quickly that really there's no prolonged money to be uh, made in that type of environment, and we needed enough stuff to really break. And I said, I don't know, at one point in the fall that I seeing the cracks, and there are some things that are like really breaking, but now this is what I'm was kind of looking for, this type of washout type move of people just being done once and for all with energy for now. Now the stocks are getting beat up, and I'm not in any of them because A, I have surrogate exposure through tankers, which for some reason kind of just trade like oil despite whatever their earnings are. But there's that, and I also have different forms of energy. Now, I am watching this to see if it gets ridiculously cheap. I haven't really been following as closely as some other sectors, but based on the recent price action, um, it may be worth a watch. If there's some major washout, I'll probably buy at some point. The other thing I wanted to cover, which I haven't really spoke about in isolated detail much on this channel, but that's nat gas. Nat gas is a highly broken sector. It's trading well below the cost of production, and everyone is highly levered. And everyone is telling you that they're going to survive, they're just going to sell some assets. Now, what I have to wonder here is who's buying all these assets that everyone is selling? Some companies that do survive or manage to sell some assets or pull through are probably quite cheap. I just don't know which ones will survive or how long this will take because it could take a while. It could be done tomorrow. I don't know how it shakes out. And given the energy alternatives, it's not really one of the places that I'm watching the closest because of all of these well, crappy balance sheets. So eventually there's probably going to be some stuff to pick up on the cheap, but it wouldn't surprise me if it wallows around down there for a while we figure out who's going to survive and who's not. Well, that's all for today. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you found something in this video useful, interesting, or at the very worst funny. But remember, nothing seen on this channel is investment advice. And with that, have a great day.